We launched a new section on the Google Play Store filled with really awesome kids and family apps. Those apps are part of our Design for Families program. And for the past 12 months, we've been continuing to build on the suite of features and services that we offer to families across Play. And I wanted to briefly recap some of our most recent launches before we get into the meat of the presentation. So first of all, we've been working on refining our understanding of parents as a user segment and finding ways both big and small to personalize their experiences on Google Play. And I'll just give you one small example of this. This is the family category quick link that you're seeing on the screen. This is the little green family button. And we've made this more visible for the parent user segment by placing it front and center on the Play homepage. This small change resulted in a really substantial uplift for family apps on Google Play. We've also added on to our most popular feature for families, browsing by character. In the last 12 months since our launch, we've added another 34 beloved characters on the Play Store globally, including one that I think everyone in the room will recognize, and this is Angry Birds, of course. And character pages, they show off a curated collection of movies, TV shows, apps and games, books, and even music albums associated with the character. So I don't know if anyone here is excited to see Angry Birds the movie in a couple of days. I know that my kids are. They've been watching the release date pretty closely. And when Angry Birds the movie comes out on Google Play, you'll be able to find it all in one place here on the character page. And we're making this page far more discoverable through search, through featuring, et cetera, all across the Play Store. Now, beyond the store, we've also been spending more time thinking deeply about how to offer families more premium services and better support family interactions across Android. So last December, we launched the Google Play Music Family Plan. This is a subscription that gives up to 6 people in your family unlimited music for just $14.99 a month. Now, if you were buying this separately for each family member, that would actually cost you $60, so it's actually a pretty great value. And we throw in YouTube Red on top of that, so your whole family can enjoy YouTube ads free. So this is obviously here, you guys are app developers, why am I talking to you about this music plan? Now, when you lift up the hood, there's something really important going on here that's relevant for our app developer community. And that's when you actually get into these premium services, you need to create a family group. So we start understanding who's in your family. And the eligibility for these types of family services are anchored around a shared family payment method. Now, this really opens up some interesting possibilities in terms of interactions around payments on Google. As we all know, it's really difficult to get users to put their credit card down, and a lot of our audience, children and younger audiences, they don't necessarily have access to credit, or the existing options wouldn't have been particularly secure for them. So with the family payment method, family members can buy almost anything on Google Play, including paid apps, in-app purchases, and other kinds of digital content. So how does that work exactly? And this is something that's live, and you can test it out yourself. Let's take a closer look at this scenario. Imagine my teenager is playing Transformers Rescue Bots, and he wants to buy the 2 bots bundle for $5. Well, he doesn't have a credit card yet. He used up his Play gift card that his grandmother gave him a month ago. And instead of abandoning the purchase, or worse yet, heckling me for my credit card where I have to add that to his account, he can actually use the family payment method. And for in-app purchases, we provide the family manager with a feature called purchase approvals. This means that I have to actually approve the purchase before it goes through. Now, if it was my husband making the purchase, well, I don't really want to bother with all of that because I do trust him. So I have the option of turning this setting off. And note that the family payment method is an optional feature for families. No one is forced to use it even when you're part of a family. It's just one more additional payment method that is available for your family members. So the family group and the family payment method are things we'll be continuing to build on this year. And you probably saw a little note in your inbox yesterday about Family Library, which is coming. And I don't have more to share about that at this moment, but you can expect a little bit more news on this in a few months. So with that, let's pivot to our main topic today, which is about building family-friendly apps and a family-friendly business on Google Play. Now, we know all of you sitting in the audience, you're developers of kids and family apps. Some of you are educators. Some of you are here because you're parents, or you're just still young at heart. And you hear about all the great Android and Google APIs, And you're wondering to yourself, can I use that service? Is there a right way to use that service as a kids app developer? And we know it's hard to figure out how to navigate the intersection of Google and kids apps. So we wanted to give you some helpful tips on how to use our services and APIs. So first of all, let's talk about your apps. Your app probably falls into one of these two buckets. Either you're making an app that's developed primarily for kids, or you're making an app that's meant to be enjoyed by both kids and adults. Now, if your app doesn't fall into either of these two buckets, then you probably don't need to be sitting in this session unless you're just here for the air conditioning. But let's move on. Just keep it in mind. Which type of app do you have? Now, if you have an app that's designed for kids and families, here's the easiest tip of the day that we'll give you, which is joining the Design for Families program. Why? Well, it's better for your apps, and it's also better for our users. So most of you already know about the benefits of this program, but I'll just quickly recap it. You have an opportunity to be featured in the family category on Google Play. You get to rank in top charts for family apps, in addition to regular top charts in the games or the app section. You can be discovered in search queries relating to kids' content. We boost you up. And you get recognized in the store with the Family Star badge, which is something that our users look for to understand whether or not your app is family friendly. We also collect more information about the target age of your app, the specific category that you're targeting, and this actually helps us do more on the back end to make sure that we're actually pushing the right apps to the right types of users. Now, whether you're part of the Design for Families program or not, the way that kids apps interact with Google and Android APIs does require some additional tweaking. So we're going to dive into that a bit right now. Okay, so let's talk about ads. This is probably the area that most of you want to know the most about. Now, if your app is targeting kids as part of its audience, you probably know there are a lot of legal requirements for respecting child privacy in different parts of the world. And if you're using AdMob as one of your ad networks, then AdMob actually offers an option for dealing with this. And this is a pretty simple thing. When you basically go to request an ad from AdMob, you just tag the ad request in your app with a tag that we call TFCD, and that stands for Tag for Child Directed Treatment. And this basically turns off interest-based advertising and remarketing in the ad request. There's another common requirement in many parts of the world, and this is that the ad content you need to display inside a kid's app needs to be age appropriate. When you need a kid-friendly ad, AdMob does offer an option for this as well. And this is what we call KFA, which stands for kid-friendly ad. So again, all you simply do is tag your ad request with this particular tag, and we'll actually deliver kid-friendly content in the advertisement to your app. Now, if you're participating in the Design for Families program and you're primarily targeting kids, Google will automatically tag your ad requests, so you don't have to do that work on your end. But otherwise, you'll need to make sure that you're actually adding this into your ad request directly. Now, you may have noticed that we also recently started displaying this little label on the details pages for apps. And this is a little label that tells users, hey, my app actually contains ads, because this is one of our top feature requests from parents on the Play Store. And since this past January, in Developer Console, you'll notice that there's a section where you can actually tell us, yes, my app does in fact contain ads, and this will actually help speed up your review process. We know that everyone is always eager to get their apps onto the store as soon as possible, so make sure that you're actually checking this box if your app in fact does contain advertising. Now, let's talk about Google Play Game Services. Has anyone here tried out the auto login feature that we recently launched in February? No? Maybe not. Okay, well, you should check it out. Play Games, as you know, offers a variety of cool features like leaderboards, achievements, multiplayer games, and even video recording inside the app. Now, unfortunately, we can't necessarily offer these account-based features to children under the age of 13, since Google accounts are made for children ages 13 and up, or users age 13 and up. So here's really the key takeaway for developers of kids apps. First, if your app is really primarily targeting just children, you shouldn't integrate the game service. Really, really basic. Now, if your app is targeting both kids and adults, you can integrate the Play Game service. You just need to make sure that it's optional. And there's two different implementation options when you read through this in our documentation. You just need to make sure that you choose the optional implementation rather than the auto login version. Another really great feature for kids is speech. And using voice-based applications makes a lot of sense for kids apps because a lot of our users, they're not necessarily reading yet, they don't necessarily know how to spell well, and they're probably not typing that proficiently on a device. So as you know, Android offers a world-class speech API which can be used to power things like voice search like we have here in our YouTube Kids app. Now, audio recording is a sensitive privacy area for kids apps, and we know some of you may be wary about adding these types of features because you didn't know how to go about it. Well, I'm happy to tell you that the Android Speech API actually offers a way for you to tell us when you want us to treat the voice search requests in your app with more sensitivity. So similar to the ad situation, all you need to do is spend a special tag with your request. And if you're part of the Design for Families program, again, we take care of this for you, and we're actually tagging all of your voice requests on your behalf on the back end. Finally, the most important tip of the day, you don't have to keep this all in your head. You don't have to furiously scribble down notes. We'll be including all of this material in a new section in our Developer Policy Center that's called Kids and Families. This is coming in June. And all of this will be covered in detail with obviously a lot more technical instruction on how to do the ad tagging, etc. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Shazia because we've discussed how to build your app in a family-friendly way. Now let's talk about how to build your business on Google Play as a kids app.
Thanks. Nice job, Yunus. Hi everyone, I'm Shazia Makhdoumi, and for those I haven't met, I lead our BD team for families and education, which means I work with a lot of the developers in the audience. How many family or kids apps and games developers in the audience today? Okay, cool. Excellent. And for those who've been to any of my presentations, I like to keep it interactive and ask you questions because I get bored of hearing myself speak all the time. By the way, before we start, how many people who've been to I/O at Moscone in past years, or raise your hands if you've been to I/O before at the Moscone Center. Of these, how many prefer this location? Ooh, I share your sentiments. Okay, that was a quick poll for feedback to the events team. But anyway, so we'll get started. So, Yunus talked a lot about some of the policies and in Design for Families, and as you think about building family, mixed age, or purely kids-directed apps. So we want to share some of the feedback we've gotten from both developers and from users. So tablet optimization is really important, as something we've heard. And in fact, 60% of our spend for family apps in the Play Store comes from tablets, which is unlike any other category. And this is not a surprise, right? Because when you think about it, your parents have phones, which yes, it's a very personal device. They may give it to their kid at a restaurant, but your tablet is kind of your family or living room device, we've seen. And in fact, in a recent poll we conducted of kids, especially younger kids, they actually say they prefer playing on tablets than on phones. We have a tablet optimization checklist on android.developer.com. So you should definitely check that out to make sure that you are ready for, your app is optimized for tablets. One of my favorite questions, how many people here have used alpha and beta testing? Okay, it's still a low percentage, though better than the 2 hands I typically get. And out of those, how many have you guys used open beta at all, which is something we launched recently? Okay, closed beta? Okay, cool. So basically for those who may not be familiar, alpha and beta testing is a way for you to check out new app features you may be launching, or even your new app, to a smaller group of select users before you launch it out to the world in general. And this allows them to check it, to give you feedback, for you to catch bugs and fix them before it's released into kind of the big wide world and any bugs affect your rating. And so with an open beta, it can be open to pretty much anyone that who wants it, though you can cap the amount of people, but you don't have to worry about creating that beta community. But if you only want to use it for a specific audience, then you have the option of creating a closed community with a list of emails to be beta testers of your content. And in fact, we now have, like, at I/O, we launched the ability for you to, if you have an open beta, for a user to sign into that from the store listing itself. So as I go into the store listing and an app is an open beta, I can, select that to be part of the, to beta the app. And you can, for a select group of apps, we also will have the, we'll be featuring them in a collection called an early access collection to expose our users to really promising open betas that are not in production yet. Another audience question. Who's used promo codes so far? Okay, cool. Who knows about promo codes? Okay, I'm going to assume everyone else wants to know about promo codes since I want to talk about that. So basically, promo codes is something we launched a couple of months ago, and it's the ability for you to create up to 500 promo codes and have a, like a self-serve promo code campaign. So instead of having to work with Google and figure out how to get promo codes in front of your users, for up to 500 users, you can create a promo code, send it out so they can experience your app or part of the content for free. So this would be really useful for things like if there's a certain group of influencers who you want to get your app out to, or a group of, let's say, parent evangelists, or even if there's a marketing campaign you're doing to a target set of users. So you can basically run this on your own from the developer console. And then store listing experiments. Actually, I won't ask about this since I do know that 70% of our top developers are using store listing experiments, and this has been an extremely popular feature. And with this, what you can do, as is change the text, the graphics, icons, etc., to see what do users respond to. We've actually gotten feedback, especially from kids and developers of kids apps, that kids love icons and colors, and that's typically the first thing they gravitate towards when they select an app to purchase or download. And so getting that right is really important. One of our top partners, Baby First, experimented with a couple of different icons, and they found that using a different icon for their app actually increased their installs by 10%. And so they ended up converting to that icon. And Rovio has tried a bunch of different experiments, and in fact now all their launches are soft launches. They get the A/B testing to get their listing right, and then they launch the app to the general sort of public. And we also recently, I think it was about just as soon as last week, announced that you can actually run up to 5 store listing experiments at a time. Reviews and ratings are really important. How many people here have responded to user reviews? And they're, okay, good. So reviews and ratings matter in the family space more than other categories. The reason being, and I see this in myself as a parent also, like parents look to other parents for ideas, inspiration, things on what to get their kids, and stuff that will help their kids. And one of the main things they go to is ratings and reviews. But these are a two-way street, right? So you want to help build up that community so people will engage with your app, leave reviews, tell their friends about it. And we also recently had announced the ability for you to respond to reviews, which I'm glad quite a few people are availing themselves of. One of the things we saw that when, especially if you have low reviews and you respond to those reviews, users and quite a few users end up then changing their rating, and they end up raising the rating by an average of about 0.7 stars, which is enough to get you over maybe into the next star rating category. And star rating really matters because people equate star rating with quality, and we've seen a very strong correlation between quality and revenue. So getting that rating important and doing whatever it takes is really important. And because we recognize that, we've done a lot of stuff on that in the developer console. So there's the ability to look at ratings and reviews by time segment, by country. In fact, one of my favorites is review highlights. So you can see what are the top themes that people are talking about your app or game. It may be very different from what you thought your app or game was about, and people are responding to something else, and that helps you maybe change your marketing campaign or think about an audience you may have not considered. We also recently released review benchmarks, which lets you compare your app to other similar apps in your category across common topics, so like speed or stability. etc. So you can see how does your app compare to those, how do your ratings compare to other similar apps across those dimensions, and make any fixes. And we also allow you the ability to be able to measure your rating on topics specific to your app and see where it is that you are falling behind, so you can make improvements. So we recognize how important ratings and reviews are, so there'll be a lot of effort made to help you understand them and make them go up. So switching gears a little bit, how many people here use subscription as a business model? Okay, cool. So this chart actually shows the growth in subscriptions on Google Play. So there's a lot more apps and games that are using this as a business model. And we have been doing a lot of stuff on our end to make sure it's easy for developers to be able to run a subscription business. So things like the period, right? A weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual subscription, the ability to have grace periods, goodwill credits, etc. And actually, yesterday I was talking to a developer. One of the best compliments we got was when they mentioned that our subscription product and the way to manage subscriptions on Play is head and shoulders above other platforms. So I was very happy to hear that. And then freemium is another model that actually is pretty popular on Play. Among the kids developers here, how many people use freemium? Okay. So one may think, in-app purchases, kids, is that really appropriate? Should we really be showing kids in-app purchases? Well, StoryToys is one of our top partners, has, when they launched Chuggington, they saw that for Chug Patrol, on their freemium version, they actually got about 250x more downloads and 3x more revenue than on the premium version, which led them to actually then launch their new app, My Very Hungry Caterpillar, as freemium on Play. And it's seen strong revenue and downloads. And Barry can chat more with you on that if you have any questions. And I also want to point out, we don't have any restrictions on having IAP in the kids section, on the family section, and in Google Play. What we do have, though, as Yunus mentioned earlier, is the ability for, there's password protection for IAP purchases, so we can make sure it's parents who are approving the purchase and not kids. Okay, so we went over quite a few things, and you'll hear a lot more, hopefully at I/O. In fact, I think the next session here, next session in the amphitheater at 11 is about what's new in Google Play, which will go into more detail on some of the things I've talked about.